Hello amigos, this is David Casillas with Raíces Vivas. We're here with Jerry, Simon, and Red.
Howdy.
And Jerry,
Yes, sir.
welcome. Thank you for welcoming us in your ranch and for about to share a lot of knowledge to all of the new ranchers.
All right.
So why don't we go ahead and tell us who you are?
Well, I'm Jerry Simon, born in 1943 in New Braunfels, Texas. I'm mainly descendants of German people over there. But from a small child, I always wanted to be a rancher. Don't know exactly what caused me to want to be a rancher, but that was my desire, so I grew up in a small rural community, not really on a ranch, but started working for neighboring ranchers, hauling hay and feeding cattle and stuff like that, and grew up working most of the time. Didn't have any hobbies, so I liked animals and horses and stuff, so that's where my main interest was.
So no hobbies. He was just working
Yeah.
and but you enjoy your time doing that.
Oh yeah. I can say one thing as I look back, I enjoyed what I've done. It's as you well know, ranching's a lot of work and not an easy job.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed it all. Wound up getting out of high school and going to A&M and studying animal science, and was on some of the judging teams, but never showed any livestock.
Okay.
And I got back from Vietnam and ran into a fellow that was halter breaking and showing Brahman cattle for people, and wound up getting off into that for about 18 years. I did that and enjoyed it. Traveled to a lot of stock shows and met a lot of people doing that. And after about 4 years working for a fellow, I started my own business in 1974.
Okay.
And I moved to Florida and rented a show barn and started halter breaking cattle for other people.
Okay.
And stayed in Florida 2 years, and then I got homesick for Texas and
It always happens.
came back to Texas. But it's always been a passion, so I was able to work hard and still enjoy what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But then showing cattle is kind of a break-even proposition, takes a lot of time and labor, and doesn't average 7 days a week. And I was trimming some hooves on some cattle, saw some people trimming and decided that's what I wanted to do, so I quit showing cattle and started hoof trimming cattle.
Okay.
So
So you follow the thread. Like one
Yeah.
thing leading to another.
yeah,
And then when you decided to start your own ranch?
that was in 1974.
Okay.
I moved to Florida and I was showing cattle there, but I didn't buy this place here till 1978 and start my actual own cattle operation.
So you're like a celebrity around here. And somebody told me the other day, yeah, you know, Jerry, guy with a big old mustache. Yeah, Jerry. I consider him a friend and a really knowledgeable person, like a mentor type. He was like, "Do you know that he traveled everywhere in the world?" And I was like, "What, Jerry?" And yeah, he was like, "Yeah, he's been in Europe and all over the United States. So he's been around the block."
Yeah, my hoof trimming and led me to a lot of places, other countries. Like I tell people, I did it so long people thought I knew what I was doing.
That's a good one. So then from there, Jerry, when you decided to start your ranch operations and cattle operations since 1978 here in Welder. So we know that in 74 you were in Florida. And then you decided, I'm homesick, I want to go back to Texas, and you found Welder. Is there any specific reason you decided Welder?
Well, I'd actually moved back from Florida to Lufkin, Texas, in East Texas. And I had a fitting service there where I hauled and breaking cattle and a cattle trucking business. But that wasn't doing too good, and I was reading in the Houston, that man wanted $6,000 an acre for his place. So I saw this place advertised in the Houston Post for $650 an acre. And it was owner finance.
What a wonderful
$15,000.
What a wonderful prices.
So I moved here, pulled my trailer house in right through here, and it was so sandy, I got my trailer house stuck. But then we moved it up on the hill and lived there for a while, and eventually built us a house here. And this place was nothing on it when I moved here. I built everything.
Yeah, you strike me and us and other people as a really hardworking person that you have really set your goals and you go after them.
Well, I did hoof trimming and dehorning the cattle, and that was hard work. But I always found out if you did something that was hard and nobody else wanted to do it, you didn't have much competition.
True that? Yeah. That's very true.
As you can see right now, my hoof trimming chute's parked up there in the barn, but nobody wants to use it much.
Well, there's some trades that are, being lost because, not many people wants to do it. Luckily, I mean, we got ranchers like you that, open their mind and their ranch to us because you guys are the gatekeepers of the knowledge. Because right now what we're experiencing, Jerry, is a lot of information. Like, oh my God, you can see a short video and then it tells you whatever it takes somebody a year to learn,
Right.
But it's only intake visually. So they might have all this knowledge, but they don't know how to do anything.
Well,
it's not applicable.
You get out of college and that just teaches you how to learn more.
Yeah.
You get out of college and you think you know a lot, but you really don't have any practical experience. So I liked working with cattle, and especially Brahman cattle.
That's a great. Why Brahman?
Well, I don't know how I got attached to him. Of course, I went to working for a fella that had them, a lot of them around, and I always said you had to be smarter than they were to handle them.
Huh.
So
Okay.
I work them a lot different now than I used to, because I realize you've got to move slower and do things by yourself. They sometimes get upset when two people are there and you start talking between yourselves, and that tends to upset them some. But really, in all seriousness, they're very docile cattle, and they can survive the heat and insects better than other cattle can.
Yeah.
But
And they also, I mean, just like you said, I believe they're noble if you treat them right, and they have good birth or good mother.
birth weight,
Yeah.
mothering ability, yeah. They're good milkers and make good mothers.
What about
So,
meat?
well, you know, there's a fellow over in Georgia that I did work for a while. He's got Brahman cattle, and he opened him up a meat market there
Okay.
at his place. So the meat is of good quality. People,
So what? Go on.
everybody has a different opinion of what quality meat is, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh,
So now there is a new belief, a new trend. So what do you think about this grass-fed versus grain finished and grass finished?
Yeah.
What was your take on it?
Well, I've always eaten grain finished cattle. Other than when I was growing up, we would just wean calves and eat them right off the cow. But I don't know. I've always, like I say, I've always grew up eating grain-fed calves. But
Because I feel there is a debate of, honestly, like we were talking earlier, some people that might not be in the industry are really easy to make comments, and it's
that's
good,
right.
you know.
Yeah,
But same as you, I grew up with grain finished
yeah,
because it's just what is also like available.
yeah.
Back then it was not. I mean, in my time it was in the 90s, but it wasn't much polluted, and like with so much chemicals and
Yeah,
GMOs.
right.
So now I see the concern of some people, but I believe that there is some options that you can go. You know? There is always you can
I
get
mean,
the organic.
they told me that you had to worm animals all the time, but I've found out if you furnish them enough grass, rotate them a little bit, uh, none of my cows have ever been wormed. Quit worming them,
Okay.
and they stay in good shape.
Which that translate into the health of your soil.
Yeah,
That's,
cattle on good grass just stay healthier, I think.
so I've told you this before, and many other people, but I think you have some of the most beautiful pastures around here.
Yeah.
What's the secret?
Well, you know, one time I delivered a load of portable panels down to Mexico, and this man told me, he said he wanted to show me a pasture down there. This was about 30 years ago. And I said, okay, and so we drove to this other ranch in Mexico, and they had the prettiest grass I ever saw. It was
Wow.
a couple of feet tall, and they were cutting it and transplanting it into more fields. And it was Tifton 85. And he gave me a sack full of it. I was going to bring it home to plant. When I got to the border, they confiscated it.
Ah.
Oh, no.
So then I found a fella over here at Ellisville
Uh-huh.
that had some Tifton, and I went and bought me a little pickup load and started planting and had a few fields of it. And then one day a guy came to me and said he wanted me to plant him a field of Tifton. And so I planted that field, and we got lucky after we finished about 2 hours. You got 1.5 inches of rain on it.
Oh my goodness.
But I didn't know anything about really planting Tifton.
Hmm.
But I found an old boy in Kennedy that knew a lot about Tifton. And he had built some planters that he used to plant it. And I bought some of those planters and got in the Tifton grass planting business.
Yeah.
So I planted a lot of Tifton grass around here. And even like today, we've had some rain, but the Tifton is taller and greener than the native Bermuda grasses are right now. So it's pretty good grass.
And then it does very good with a little bit of water. It's one of those grasses that can be thriving.
Well, it likes water.
Mhm.
So, and it likes good hot days. So
Okay.
if you have water and rainfall and a good hot summer like we're having this year, it just grows like a weed.
Yeah.
I just cut that through cutting the field over there. These were 4x5 bales and made 12 bales to the acre
Wow.
on it in one cut.
Wow. That's density.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dense. So, what would you say, Jerry, to the new generation of farmers and ranchers, and that some of them they're stepping into the industry or the way of living by either fashion or they inherited or love or so regardless their motives, what would you say to this new generation that I hope to become like you and fill your shoes, right? So what would be your advice
Well,
to all of us?
I think do something you like to do, so you need to like ranching to stay in it. I see a lot of people through the years get in it and raise purebred Brahman cattle, and they've always told me the average life of a purebred Brahman breeder was about 6 or 7 years, and then they got tired of it. I still have some Brahman cattle, and I'm breeding them mostly to Hereford bulls now, but I still like the Brahman cattle over other breeds. My dad always told me, he was used to being around Hereford and Angus, he said all the Brahmins look skinny to him.
True that. Well, right next to those, yes. Yeah.
But in the last 50 years, they've really changed the Brahman cattle. They made them more docile and meatier, and they're a whole different animal than we saw when I got started.
I mean, you got a lot of breeds now from the Brahman, like the into Brazil. Those animals are gorgeous.
Yeah.
They got the meat, they got the looks, and they got the resistance of.
Yeah. There used to be quite a few of those around. I don't see as many now as I used to. But.
So for all of us, that's a really simple yet we have to endure. Like if we love this, we're gonna have to stay and enjoy. Because from what I'm hearing, ranching is not only I grow grass and I feed my cattle. You might be a shoe trimmer. You might be a grass planter, and it all connects to being a rancher. Because
like somebody said the other day, if you're gonna be a rancher, don't quit your job in town.
That's right. That's right. Somebody told me a similar one that goes, if you want to be a rancher, you gotta have 2 pair of shoes.
Yeah.
The dirty ones and the clean ones to sustain the dirty ones' habits. So you definitely have to be, active and always searching for.
We used to halter break those calves
Mhm.
right along through here, and this was where you'd fall down and they would drag you. And then one day I got where I couldn't fall down anymore.
Uh-huh.
I'd let go first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go. Ah.
But if you could hold on, usually by the time you got to that tree down there, they would stop.
They was.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah,
Well, the one that I took from you, that did not knew the rule. That dragged me longer than this.
did it?
Yeah. I was trying to move. I don't know how it moved corrals. It jumped from where the cattle used to be to the sheep. Don't ask me how. But when I was trying to change it over, I thought it's gonna be easy. I've handled
Yeah.
cattle before. This is the Brancos that
Yeah.
I got from you. So I throw a rope. That thing didn't knew what it was a rope.
Yeah,
It dragged me almost to the front of my gate,
yeah,
and I had to let it go. You're gonna give me a tour in my own ranch? Adios. Yeah, it was. So, man, they're strong,
yeah,
Yeah.
even younger.
yeah,
I have a good question for you, Jerry.
yeah.
Using all your life experience and knowledge that you've gained over these years, if you could go back in time to meet yourself right before, or right around the time you really got into ranching, what's something that you would tell yourself or something that you would change, involving ranching? Like, what is something that maybe you would do different if you could go back?
Well, one of my biggest problems that sits in my mind, to get into ranching, I didn't have any money, and I had trouble making enough money to live on, and then I had to increase it where I'd have something left over
Yeah.
till I could invest. But every time I invested a little money, I always invested it in land, not realizing the reason I invested in land was to grow grass for cattle, and I didn't realize the land value would go up like it has through the years. But I guess I was just lucky in that respect. If you're in ranching, money always seems to be in short supply,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so to speak. You're always watching your bank account, trying to keep it from going over.
Mhm.
But if you do it long enough, you finally get where it makes some money.
So if you do it long enough and good enough, now you're the one signing the back of the checks,
Yeah.
not the front.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I was lucky to find this little place, and there's 20 acres right there on the creek that wasn't part of this place. But I had a handful of cows here, and the guy bought this place from me said, "Turn your cows down on that other pasture." Wasn't much grass in, but I said, "Well, I don't know who those people are." And he said, so I called that lady that owned it, and she wouldn't lease it to me. So over the years, I started using it, planting grass on it, built a new fence around it. Nobody ever said it. After about 30 years, one day I was down there cutting hay, and a car drove up. I wasn't here, and another boy was cutting the hay.
What are you doing?
They drove in and looked at this guy, and a few days later, they put a for sale sign on.
Okay.
But
And then you bought it,
then I wound up buying it. But
and you already had 30 years of work in,
Yeah,
so
right.
that's great. Man, to have now, you are one of the most established ranchers in the area.
yeah,
You see people come and go. What do you think that, beside of your work ethic, like, what do you think that has made you so like um,
Determined?
determined, but also like to provide this stability,
You know,
sovereignty.
I had it ingrained in my head that so bad that I wanted to own land and cattle, and it just came natural to me. I would actually trim hooves all day, and at the end of every day I'd say, well, I made enough to buy another acre of land,
That's
you
amazing.
know.
Yeah.
And you start out real small, you know, but it keeps going on you as you can add to it. I've been here on this place 46 years now.
Wow.
Time goes by in a hurry.
How
Sure
old were you
does.
when you got this place?
I was about, she said 43, 50. I was about 35. I guess 35 when I moved here. 1978.
Strong bull, like ready to work
Yeah.
all day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I could work all day and half the night.
Yeah.
I
Do you
don't
have
know.
any now that you have established yourself and through the years? Have you developed any hobbies?
Not really.
Ah.
I
Well,
always liked to fool with horses a little bit if that was a hobby, but I'm not an expert by no means with them.
what about your team? Because there is only so much you can do by yourself.
Yeah.
When you decided to start getting a team together, and what kind of qualities, and what was the purpose of that team?
Well, my wife, when we married, she was a bookkeeper.
Okay. Oh,
So
oh my God,
that was what I
you already
needed
have.
first.
Yeah.
So that was what I needed first, and I always felt like if you worked hard, your employees would follow you
Yes.
and work hard too. So through the years, I've had a lot of good people working for me,
That's good.
and most of them, some of them now have worked for me over 30 years probably. So be part of your family almost.
Yeah.
Doing that.
That's an achievement right there. To keep
Hey,
somebody that long and to be
yeah.
able to rely on them.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to find good help, reliable
Oh, it's
help.
almost impossible now.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen anymore.
Well, I've been finding that, because I've gone through a lot of different trades, grew up, in the agricultural world, but I wanted to learn automotive, carpentry, construction. I wanted to do all these different things because I knew someday I was going to have a ranch, and I would need to know how to work on my own truck, need to know how to work on my house, or do this or do that. And so I found working these trades, I was constantly the youngest person there. Everybody was in their 40s or 50s or 60s, and nobody was ever in their 20s, hardly ever.
Yeah.
I've maybe met a handful of guys, and so it's been really interesting to experience that, knowing that the wealth of knowledge that the older gentlemen have isn't getting passed down, and some of these skills and trades are dying.
Well, you learn something new
Yeah.
every day, really.
Yeah.
Can't remember what we was talking about the other day. Something, and I said, never had heard of that before. So, I mean, you continually learning new things every day. Mainly I traveled a lot with this hoof trimming, and I visited with different people every day. I imagine over the last 52 years, I probably went to at least 1,000 ranches,
Wow.
I'd visit with the owners and get ideas from them, and I especially looked at their corrals, how they had them built, and now I've built corrals that I've designed that I think work real good. So it's just something you learn by observation, what other people are doing.
Is there one thing that you experienced while traveling to these other ranches that you learned from them that really stuck in your mind, that you were like, why didn't I ever think of that?
I don't know. I always looked at their grasses, and some of them had. I always noticed that the ones that had those oil field pump jacks were doing better than the ones that didn't have them.
Huh.
It's probably because they're getting all that extra money.
Yeah. And that was
Yeah.
one thing when I was in Florida. There was a lot of good folks in Florida, but most of the people didn't have access to the oil money that people here have and spend. Of course, it's not as prevalent now, probably, as it used to be. They used to, the people that had the biggest ranches had the most oil wells, but now you have all this high-tech stuff coming in. But oil was a big factor in how people could afford to manage their ranches, what they did.
Coming from Oklahoma, a big thing for us has been the transition from seeing oil derricks on people's property to people allowing for the windmills to
Yeah.
come in. That's been a big thing.
Yeah, that's coming everywhere.
Hmm.
They're thinking about putting some wind generators over here at Schulenburg.
Yeah.
Uh,
I wonder if there's enough wind here, because it doesn't seem, I mean, coming from Oklahoma, it's very, very windy.
Yeah.
So I wonder.
I don't know, it must be a
Oh,
ridge over there, something that catches a little more
Yeah.
wind.
So, beside of going, because the only places that I see you, Jerry, is in your ranch,
Yeah.
on the diner, or
Yeah.
on the
On
livestock auction.
or the road.
Or the
See him
road,
on
yeah.
the road. He's
On
on
the road,
way,
checking your
sir.
pastures.
That's
Yeah.
about it.
That's about it?
Yeah.
I used to drive around 70,000 miles a year,
Uh-huh.
just trimming hooves on cattle. About did all the driving I want to do.
Yeah.
I
Golly.
don't have too much
No.
desire to travel anymore.
Yeah.
But
That was back in the days where it was just the radio, keep you entertained.
radio and no air conditioner
Yeah.
and a package of chewing gum.
Yeah.
Keep you awake.
Yeah.
If you're awake. Golly.
You go down the road and sleep on the seat of my pickup a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Like I told people here, a lot of times I'd leave here to go trim hooves without any money. And I didn't have a credit card, and I was just hoping that the first place I went would pay me in cash
Yeah. So you can have some. in
so I
your
could
pocket.
go on.
So did you make a route, or you just like?
Yeah, I'd just go from
Okay.
one place to the next. Usually the busiest time was January into February when all the major stock shows were around here,
Mm-hmm.
where I'd trim every day for about 6 weeks.
This is an interesting question that many will love to ask you, and where do you see the future of ranching? Like, what do you see, how we're going in 20 years? Is it gonna be the same? Is it gonna be better? Is it gonna? What do you think is gonna be?
I think it depends on where you're at, but you know, I saw on TV the other day they said 1925 is going to be the lowest number of calves ever sold
Wow.
since 1941. So I see the numbers decreasing. I'm not sure. We've got a lot of drought. A lot of people have sold off some cattle. and
Some good land is being subdivided.
yeah, lots of land being subdivided, put into solar panels.
Hmm.
I don't think the numbers are going to increase as much as we'd like to see them again,
Hmm.
because too many of the younger generation don't want to work as hard as it takes to be a rancher. So, and the average age of ranchers are getting up in the 60s, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
We got your back.
Yeah.
yeah.
We want to continue doing the work.
Yeah.
Other thing, the cost of land is so prohibitive.
Yeah.
You can't,
And
I
the-
could sell my land and draw more interest on it than I can make off of it every year.
True.
So,
Yeah. If having land right now becomes it's a security, but for example, you are able to get hay out of it and also like graze your animals.
yeah,
So if you would have put a number on that and then keep your land instead of selling it, you're more stable that way.
yeah,
You know, so, because if you sell your land right now, let's be honest, you won't be able to find anything else.
no,
You know, so it is becoming like more challenging, and even for people that are starting. When I bought the ranch, it's either you buy it, not only me, like other people, like you buy it and then you don't have any funds to
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah.
Or you finance it and then you ended up paying another, like an interest, another, I don't know, 70%.
twice of what it's worth
Exactly. So,
when you pay for it. Yeah,
oh my God, then who you're working for?
yeah,
It becomes really, really challenging. At the beginning, you have to work really hard. I was just telling Red that, and you know this, you have to diverse. Like if you're only gonna sit here and watch your cattle eat, you're not making any money.
yeah.
You know, so we're looking for.
I had trouble getting a bank loan for a long time.
Mhm.
I was almost 50 years old before I was really able to
Wow.
borrow money and buy land with it. So,
Even though you had land already and they were giving you a hard time.
well, I didn't have much land, but
Mhm.
to buy the first land, and then bank over in Schulenburg loaned me some money
Mhm.
to buy the first place that I bought. You know, years ago, land come up for sale here for $400, $500, $600 an acre. They didn't even have a buyer for it. You know,
Oh yeah.
stay on the market for a couple of years. But it's not that way now.
Mm-mm. No, it would be, to me, the best way to do these things, buy land, you gotta meet the owner. Like, forget about other middlemen.
Yeah,
Like, I don't like that. Like, I wanna shake hands, I wanna have a conversation, and if you don't like each other, then all right, walk away. But
yeah,
it's much better than somebody else setting the price for you,
right.
and then you don't have a say.
That's exactly right.
Maybe it's such an old school way of thinking, but I love it. You know.
You know, I pay a lot of attention to the drought market. There's a lot of the United States that's in some form of drought. And that concerns me some. Here we are with a wetter than average year, but there's a lot of places that are real dry.
Hmm.
And the last 2 years have been dry here. Makes it pretty rough.
Absolutely.
It's a dry year.
Yep. There's only so much cattle that you can sustain,
Yeah,
and so much frozen cattle, frozen meat that you can
Yeah.
keep.
yeah,
Yeah, climate change is affecting. There is something. Some scientist was saying that. I mean, Earth and everything, all of the resources are still there. They just don't come as often as we
yeah,
used to. And also, for example, 2 or 3 months ago, remember that what happened in San Diego? Like, it was a flood. I've never seen a flood like that.
Yeah.
But before that, they were in a drought. So it's
Yeah.
just like drought
Either-
and then
Either too wet or too dry. There's nothing in between. People are having a hard time this year getting all their hay cut because just like right now we have rain predicted for a week, so you can't cut and bale anything
nope.
this kind of weather.
The good thing is that the grass will keep on growing.
Yeah.
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 Even with this short rains, yesterday and the few days before, I mean, the grass just revived.
Oh yeah.
Cause it started looking a little yellow, you know.
Yeah, it was looking pretty rough there.
And now it's back on it.
Yeah.
And hopefully we don't get over hundreds anymore.
Yeah.
Well, if you want, we can stop and finish the episode 1,
Okay.
and then we'll come back next time.
All right.
Because I do want to ask you next time, you always wear denim. That's a question that I'm going to get from you. That's an answer.
You know, when I was trimming hooves, those pieces would fly off and hit my arms and cut me a little bit, so I got where I wore a long sleeve shirt all the time.
Okay.
It was for protection.
Yeah. Well, I think we can conclude episode 1 of Jerry Simons.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, amigos. Stay cool.
Happy trails.